The Zelda series has many games, and they're all great. Well, anyway, throughout the 21 mainline games and nearly 40-year span of the series, a rich lore and overarching story connecting all of these games together has been established. But while these games are great, and many are very fun and what I personally would call some of the best, some are more important than others. So, which one is the most important to this series' lore? I know none of you watch this channel for me, so I asked 4 other Zelda content creators for their take on this intriguing question. Without further ado, I'm Mr. Z, and this is Zeldascussions. Let's get into it.
There are a lot of Zelda games, each one telling a story of the past, the present or the future, but only a small portion of them are very important and have a big impact on the lore of the series. So here are 5 games I've chosen across 22 games from more to most important. At number 5 we've got Spirit Tracks, and the reason is that this game shows us the foundation of a new Hyrule, so that means every new game that takes place in the adult timeline has to go with this rule. The next game is Minish Cap. This is where we get to see the creation of the legendary Force Sword and get to know who or what is the evil sorcerer Vati, who appeared in 3 games. But most importantly, this game introduces us to a new race called the Picoris or the Minish, and they are the reason that rupees are scattered all around Hyrule's bushes and pots. And for the next game I choose the Echoes of Wisdom. This is where things get interesting, because the game tells us an ancient story of the 3 golden goddesses and shows us a new character called Null, who got imprisoned by the goddesses in the core of the earth, and after that they sent down the Trice to the land. This game has a big impact on the series because from this story we know that Null and the Trice existed in the past games and still does in the other timelines, and now we all know that Skyward Sword can't be absent from this list. The game takes place in the start of the timeline and it introduces us to the goddess Hylia, and this game showed us the process of making the Master Sword and how the people once lived in the land beyond the clouds. And now the most important Zelda game of all time in my opinion is Ocarina of Time. Why, you may ask? Well, because of one thing, and it's the timelines. This game is the point where the timeline is split into 3 parts. Each one has a different effect on the land, so technically this game is the most important one out of all of them, right?
Ocarina of Time is, in my opinion, the most important game to the Zelda series lore for a lot of reasons, so here are some of my biggest ones. First off, it defines a lot of themes for the sequel games. For example, Ganondorf is really defined in this game as a Gerudo king and manipulator, and things like the Triforce, 3 goddesses, and the Sacred Realm, all which are heavily utilized in later games, are also explained in depth for the first time here. There's of course also the timeline split, which allows for different settings, stories, and situations throughout the later games depending on which timeline they belong to. This game is a pivotal point in the lore and in my opinion the most important asset to the series.
Hello, hello. Pardon my voice. I'm still getting over a cold.
Is that my voice? Is that my voice? Oh well.
What is the most important Zelda game, you ask? Well, that's a crazy question. Because I believe every game has something important and unique to add, right? I mean, Skyward Sword shows us the beginning of the timeline. Breath of the Wild gives us freedom. And the CDI games remind us of everything we don't want. They all serve a purpose. But I'm feeling a little extra biased today. So the most important Zelda game is the one that shaped many of the recurring musical motifs highlighting the hills of Hyrule to this day. I hope you don't mind me shifting the lens a little bit.
A link to the past! It's the title screen, a link to the past! It's the title screen, a link to the past! A link to the past!
In terms of music history, A Link to the Past is the most important Zelda game. It introduces us to themes like Kakariko Village, the Great Fairy Fountain, Zelda's Lullaby, Ganon's theme, and Hyrule Castle.
It looks like we're inside of Hyrule Castle.
It also has a sick a cappella odyssey. Not like me sick, like cool sick. Each one of these familiar motifs truly is a link to the past.
You see what I did there? I'll explain it later. My humor can be quite complex.
Just imagine A world without A Link to the Past could have been a world without Hyrule as we know it. These pieces are more than just background music. They serve a purpose of, at the very least, defining character, which in turn gets tied back to the lore and the deeper story arc. I rest my case.
Which Zelda game was the most impactful on the series' lore? Of course, there's only one acceptable answer, and it is the one and only Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. Yep, you heard that right. It probably sounds absurd to a lot of you, but think about it for a second. Zelda 2 is the first game that features the Triforce in its entirety, as Zelda 1 only had 2 of the 3 pieces. It's also the first game where we see someone use it to make a wish. From the manual, we learn that you need to be worthy to use the thing, which will be a returning theme in future Zelda games. There are also underlying themes of people being chosen by destiny for prophecies that will be expanded on in later titles. The game also establishes that Ganon can be revived, which is something that will of course happen multiple times that we just kinda take for granted now. This is also one of the very few cases in which we learn of someone outside of the usual trio using the Triforce, something we saw again in the most recent game. Lastly, we learn why Hyrule princesses are seemingly always named Zelda. This one is not as relevant today, as Zelda 2 takes place at the end of the timeline and Nintendo seems to heavily favor making prequels for some reason, but it did matter at the time the game came out. But yeah, everything I just talked about has been some of the core principles of the Zelda universe and have been adopted and sometimes tweaked in future games. You gotta start putting some more respect on Zelda 2 now, it deserves it. Without what it established, the series simply wouldn't be the same lore-wise. So yeah, that's it for me. Big thank you to Zeldascussions for letting me on here, and subscribe to this channel as well as everyone else who gave their thoughts in here.
Now, there are a lot of good choices for the most significant Zelda game. Each game brings something to the table, and if we're looking at it from the beginning, each consecutive game added more and more to the lore of this fantasy world. But looking at it from the perspective of the entire series, I've identified the most important, and that is none other than Echoes of Wisdom. This likely sounds insane that I'm making a claim that Monster Spawn Simulator adds the most significant lore, but hear me out. Echoes of Wisdom takes all of the established creation story that the series has had for almost 30 years and puts it into context. The goddesses created life in Hyrule to contain Null, who seeks to destroy everything. And without Null, there's no creation of Hyrule. And without Hyrule, there is no Legend of Zelda. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe for more Zelda content from me. This was so much fun to put together, and it wouldn't be possible without the help of the 4 awesome content creators who offered their insight. You all should go check out the Luigi Matter, Stranded on Eventide, Cuccoses, and Hyrule Archives. They all have really good content on their channels that can use some love. Thank you guys for your help in this video. Thanks again to all of you guys for watching. You're all appreciated and loved, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.